You are live. Quiet on the set, quiet on the set. There we are. You gotta be kidding me.
Oh man, we're blowing this. I'm blowing it. All right. Well.
Two bald guys and a microphone. When
Two
things go
bald
wrong,
guys with ranch and rhyme. Two bald guys with ranch and rhyme. Two bald guys with ranch and rhyme.
I love when your Monday morning time to rise and shine. Want some motivation? Well, I know a few guys with the internet connection. 216 is on. Tune in. The two bald guys with ranch and rhyme. Introducing Coach Papa Tim's to it's his name. He's a master with the pen in the poetry game. He wants to see a better world and he plays his part. Always loving, always giving, cause he's got a big heart. The co-host won't boast, but he can stand on his own. From the state of Iowa, it's the man Ken Jones. He's impressive on the mic and he don't need a cord. Whether hosting or he's hooping, he's controlling the boards. And the one feeding the hungry herd around the world. With timely observation, dropping nuggets and pearls. Though he's not a city slicker, he's as cool as the Fonz. It's the witty wisdom giver, Mr. Rancher Ron. Set the tone for your week. 216 is on. Tune in to Two Bald Guys with Rancher Ron.
Good morning, of course, to Bald Guys and a Microphone, brought to you through, of course, the financial support of our good friends right there, Natural Therapy Wellness Center. Give them a shout out, a call if you have backache or you need a massage or just want to relax.
maybe strained a squad.
Yeah, I mean, anything. Check them out, www.mchenrymassage.com or 815-385-8190. These guys are the best, John and his team. All licensed massage therapists.
And what is cool, you've got our electronic digital board up.
Well, yeah. So Mike Krejci and I were in here this weekend, and we were just buttoning things up. And, of course, we've got the new Rodecaster, which is the new soundboard. But what's supposed to happen is I should be able to just press one of these buttons, and it should play, but it doesn't. So I will figure that out. So I was like, that's cool. I can be over here. I can hit it. We can run. I programmed the theme song in there. And, well.
Oh, you got a few extra steps in.
I guess. Well, we'll have to figure it out. That's okay. Hey, how was your week? Good?
Yeah, good week, good weekend. The James and Jesse are playing for the same soccer team as sophomore or junior and freshman grandsons. And Jesse, who hasn't played in a couple of years, actually landed a starting position.
Oh,
and,
nice.
One of the kids, as they were walking off last night or Friday night, said, Jesse, you are going to be the next GOAT. And
the GOAT.
The GOAT, which is very cool because, his self-confidence has always struggled a little bit. So he's playing well, and he gets to play with his brother. I'm watching those two bond. James is also kicking for the football team. The tournament happened to be in West Allis, a suburb of Milwaukee, and the football game was in Milwaukee Lutheran. So, excuse me. He played a soccer game at 4:30 and then headed off to kick for the football team at 7 o'clock. And football team won 33-0, so they've got he's getting lots of opportunities to kick. And then they had two more soccer games on Saturday, so they got through the 3-game tournament, and we got to, just watch a lot of sports, be involved, go out to lunch a couple of times with the kids.
So that is
good.
Great.
It was all good. Just hanging with family.
Just hanging with family.
Hanging with family.
I was listening to one of our past shows, and you say that's the good life. So you must have enjoyed the good life.
It was the good life
this past weekend, which is good. Nice.
And doing some more of the combat brain training. I'm working with the director of development for North Texas soccer, so we're responsible for 300 soccer teams. And he's excited about it. He called me, and he actually took the program to 24 of his adult coaches last night.
So we've heard you say it a couple times and mention it quite often. What is combat brain training?
Combat brain training was designed by a gentleman by the name of John Kennedy. He was asked to come up with a process for the United States Marine Corps to reduce warfighting deaths. They couldn't understand why one Marine would walk into an area and say, something's just not right here, and go around it. The next Marine would walk in and get blown up. Two people, same training. Why did one get it? Why did one not? So he's a process engineer. So he developed this program. They actually did reduce warfighting deaths by over 30%. But what they didn't expect was when the Marines were coming back from deployment with various levels of traumatic brain injury with PTSD and other issues combat related, their recovery time was reduced by almost 50%. But then the military and the infinite wisdom during the budget cuts of 2011 said, well, we're not doing that much fighting anymore. We don't need this. And it was cut from the budget. So we made a move into the civilian world and has worked with several high-level athletes. It's come into the world of peak performance. He's in contract negotiations right now with the Miami Heat, the entire team. But a lot of individual professional athletes, high-level collegiate athletes as well. I'm not real happy because the Northwestern quarterback is one of our clients, and they beat Nebraska by 3 points over the weekend. So that was
Nebraska. They used to have a football team.
They did at one point. And
that Frost was supposed to. He
was our guy.
He was supposed to be the savior. Now his job is on the hot seat, probably.
Oh, I would guess, but the overall process is just actually taking the time to train the brain. And it's a process that's been very effective, and I've been using it now on myself, training my own brain for about 7 weeks. My wife is doing it. James, our grandson, who's the multi-sport athlete, is doing very well in the training. So just an opportunity. If your brain is a normal brain, whatever normal is, it helps you, think faster, be quicker on your feet. But for the injured brain, the brain that's not quite right, the kid with ADHD, the soldier with PTSD, traumatic brain injuries, concussions, it works in the realm of neuroplasticity to help rewire and get things back on track.
So what you're saying is you should have been a Marine instead of an Army.
Never.
Well, you're now late in life when you're wise, you're now taking...
I'm taking training that was designed to bring the Marine Corps, but I love the Marines. Each branch of our service has a specific mission.
Yeah.
And their mission is not one I wouldn't have meshed well with. I was kind of a rebel. The Army was able to mold me. The Marine Corps, one of us would have ended.
There you go.
And they're much bigger than I. So I probably would have been the loser in that battle.
There you go. Of course, this is the wrap-up, the finale, the great hoo-ha on leadership and some of the myths around leadership we've been attacking here these last 4 weeks or so. And we're moving in to a new series next month. And if you have any ideas, and Shana, good morning. Thanks for getting up early and starting your week with us. If you have any ideas or topics, and any of our listeners out there, if you have any topics or anything you want us to cover, or you have a question, or you just want to hear two bald guys ramble about, well, throw it up in the comments, send us an email, do something, and we will work it in for sure. Early in this series, we defined leadership as a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards achievement of a goal for good. So, and we did that to say that there are a lot of leaders out there that they feel, quote unquote, are help pushing people towards achievement of a goal for good doesn't turn out to necessarily be good. They were great leaders, but the head sheep can be a great leader too, because a lot of people follow the sheep right over the edge.
Well, and I think it was in the first show we had a lot of discussion on, as long as people are following you, you're a leader.
Yeah.
But that's why we added in here for good, because leadership itself is holding you to a higher standard. If you are taking control of a group of people to achieve something, I mean, how many times have you been thrust into a leadership role where you wanted nothing to do with it?
Right.
No, I just want to help. I don't want to be the leader, but then your characteristics are recognized by the people, and next thing you know, you're up in front of the group.
Yeah. For many people, leadership is a pretty big nebulous word. I mean, it's out there.
Nebulous itself is a pretty big word.
Pretty big word on a Monday morning. Of course, one that can mean different things to different people, and definitely we've attacked it from an American perspective. Right. And I always want to make that clear, because we do have a worldwide audience. We've got a great following. And I have not been to the other side of the globe. So my experience comes from these here United States of America. And the concept of leadership can even be a little frightening. And there are plenty of leaders who would never describe themselves using that word. If you were to ask them, they would simply say, "What? I'm just doing whatever it takes to get the job done,"
which is what a leader does.
Yeah. There is no magic formula. There just isn't a magic formula for leadership, or a single way of leading.
Well, and the military, as a graduate of the Officer Candidate School, which in my mind is one of the best leadership training organizations in the world, obviously has identified certain traits that need to fall into place so that you can lead an army.
Yeah.
Right. But in the world of leadership, when nebulous is not going to be out of my mind all day.
That's a good day, right? That's your Reader's Digest word of the day.
But it can be kind of vague when you go out and look at the Webster Dictionary definition of leadership. The ability to lead,
right,
or leading others.
Yeah.
Well,
gee, thanks.
what does that mean? But then it started catching on as, hey, this is a way we can make some money. And several organizations, colleges, universities, independent sales training or management organizations started doubling and tripling their price because they put the word leadership in the title.
Yeah.
Because the world knows that we need to have good leaders to accomplish great things. But just because it's in the title doesn't mean they're teaching leadership. Ken Blanchard, I think, is, in my mind, is one of the best leaders, training leaders, a guy who has simplified it. Still not a magic formula, because the individual person, if they're involved in the formula, and each person is as unique as, being raised on a farm. I could get the hogs from the north pen down to the south pen. Did that make me a leader?
Right.
It's a crazy world. While there's no magic formula, there are a lot of great programs that can help you understand what leadership is. They can suggest to you what you need to do to become a leader, but at the end of the day, it's up to the individual.
All right. So let's take a look at this. Now with the world of social media, and thank you for tuning in on social media. We absolutely love you. Of course, follow, subscribe to everything that we have. But with this coach world and all the social media, let me give you a name, and I'm going to pick on people. Yeah, but I really appreciate them tuning in to
Bald Guys and a Microphone.
But before we do that, Shayna has a little comment here this morning. She says the military has a plethora of science and theories to make better soldiers. I was turned on to a neurostimulation program specific to puppies, involving subjecting them to various stressors between 3 and 16 days old. These only
Early.
though these early. Oh, go ahead and read it. You can read it better than I can.
These early protocols make for a braver and more stable dog. Wild. I've seen the difference between dogs that have had this advantage. Is this similar to combat brain training? That's a great question, and one I could probably take to John. But the whole idea behind combat brain training is open up avenues for the brain to function quicker. If you think about it as our brain right now is operating on a dirt country road. Combat brain training kind of opens it up into a 4-lane major highway. It's not going to make you better. It's still going to take your characteristics, your personal knowledge, and it's just going to give you the ability to make better decisions, to be more aware of your surroundings. The case you're talking about, what it sounds like, and I'd like to look more at the study, is that through a series of stimuli, they've created an opportunity for a dog to go down a certain path.
Stressors.
If you look at a child born into a non-wealthy environment, a slum, a child born into a family without a father, and take a look at another child who was raised in a family environment, and he's all safe and everything up until he's well into his teenage years, and compare those two individuals. I mean, you can see that it's two different people based on the early stressors in life. But how do you identify exactly what those stressors are?
Right. Yeah, but I always want to find out more about this combat brain training. I know you're doing some trainings and things like that, lunch and learns.
Well, when you're ready, we'll sit down and.
Yeah. All right. So I'm gonna give you some names of some leaders, and I want you to say yes, leader, and what makes them a good leader. All right. Now, let's start off with our good friend, and thanks for listening in today, Darren. Darren Hardy. Hashtag Darren Hardy. Darren Hardy. Leader, not a leader.
I'm going to add another word. I believe is a lost leader. I think he's got a lot of thing, and if you're not sure who Darren Hardy is, go out and look up Darren Daily. He throws out daily quotes or little daily stories. I think in his growth spurt, he was a good leader. I think he's gotten too big and he's lost control of his organization. So he's no longer leading the organization. And there's times he's still great in front of a microphone, but I've had a couple of run-ins with the organization itself that makes me cringe.
All right. So you're saying no.
I'm saying no. He's no longer a good leader.
I agree with you. A guy who's got the capability to have a couple of cameras on him, sit outside with some flowers and a nice trickling little fountain behind him, with a really soothing voice, giving you what I would say bumper sticker advice. Not a leader. And I find there are a lot of people. Oh man, Darren Daly. Oh man, Darren Hardy. He said it. He said. Okay.
Did you get your Darren Daly today?
Yeah. I'm like, you know what? No. Anthony Robbins. And Anthony, thank you for tuning in too, buddy. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. You can come in on StreamYard
anytime. Anytime I'm in. Leader or not a leader? Anthony Robbins.
Ego out of check, out of control. Power corrupts, absolute power corrupts, absolutely. I think at times he's living more in a fantasy land than in reality. I think he's great concepts, great communication, but he's all about the money anymore. I've watched.
Now, what I asked, leader or not a leader?
Not a leader.
You don't think? I think he's an incredible leader, because if we use this a process of social influence, which maximizes the efforts of others. Mm-hmm. I think he does that. I mean, people spend $5,000-$10,000 to go to one of his weekends. Yes, he is rolling in the dough, and you do take a look at that.
And has a 97% failure rate. All right,
Well,
he's leading 3%. Does that? I well, like
it doesn't say
okay, I'll
doesn't say what
this is
percentage,
true.
right? And he would tell you, as I would, failure is the first step to success, right? So hey, he gets many people. Then 97% of the people that that follow him and take his advice take the first step towards success that perhaps they never have.
Well, this is
I could
true.
say that, right? But I say that he is just because people do jump in and attempt
Right.
what his program, right?
Yeah, that makes him a media genius. He's
Yep.
we go back to Hitler. Hitler had millions following him, but I still have an issue with that because the leader was a little bit derailed. Does that make him a leader if his followers are going? And look at what's going on in Russia right now with Putin.
Well, right, but that's why I say achievement of a goal for good, and that's what Anthony Robbins does, right? Hey, you want the best you want this, you want that, and but I don't see him out there with bumper sticker.
This is true.
Bumper sticker mentality, right? Like, hey, Jesus loves you. All right.
This I know, for the Bible tells me so.
Yeah. For those early digestible rules of wisdom is all they are able to handle. For many, yes. Yeah. And then, so this is a good one. And these names were absolutely on my list to ask as well. Trump is a leader. Biden is a leader. Only what?
I only mention it because likability is not a disqualification.
Right. So let's use that. Let's say and let's just use the office. President of the United States, are the leader of the free world. Would you agree with that, or would you not agree with that?
We don't talk about politics here.
I'm just talking about leaders.
The office, yes, has the stigma of being the leader of the greatest free nation in the world.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe that we've had a person fill that role who lives up to the standard of our history for a while.
Yeah, I would agree. I would agree. So there's a point where I would say that office is no longer a leader or the leader of the free world.
It has the potential.
It has the potential. Again, but yeah, I agree with you. And I don't, do I go all the way back to Teddy Roosevelt, right? He was one of my very favorite, presidents. But so you take a look at that and go, And growing up in the 80s, of course, very fond of President Reagan. And but to your point, it's so muddied now because of all the political blah blah that it just.
We started putting managers in office, and Dwight D. Eisenhower was an excellent leader.
Yeah, exactly.
And then that comes along John F. Kennedy, and obviously scared the world,
right?
Enough that they killed him. But was it an inside job? Who knows?
We could go down that rabbit hole.
From that point on, we ran into Nixon, who left in turmoil and gave us Ford, and that was I was in the military at that time, and that was like, oh my goodness, what has happened to our? And then Jimmy Carter comes along. Great at raising peanuts, and his brother, the brewer, Billy Bear.
Shana says, maybe we should define or clarify leader versus good leader. Or
leader for good.
But at the same time, I can honestly say, I would not get behind the president of the United States for quite some time if we were marching in to do something good.
Yeah.
Right. Because my thought would be there's always another layer there. Anyway, all right, let's go
Which
with.
is why we don't talk about
That's right.
politics.
Let's go with Gary Vaynerchuk. Gary V. Leader or no leader?
He's inspirational. There's no question. If that's what what it takes to be a good leader, I think he's one of the guys that could go out there and inspire people to do great things.
Great inspirer.
Right.
Yeah, great inspirer.
That's-
Gary, thanks for listening as well. No, Jim Jones, and no relation. No relation. Again, according to our definition that we defined here, achievement of a goal for good. From the outside, not so much. Don't drink the Kool-Aid.
was it lime or cherry? I forget.
Limeade? I don't know.
Well, that is a good point, Shane, and that's something we've been discussing for this entire series.
Yeah.
Just because people follow you, that's why in our definition, again, this is a definition on two bald guys and a microphone, incorporates for good.
Yeah.
And for good then eliminates a Jim Jones. It eliminates, several
mass murderers, cult leaders,
Manson, and so on. Did they lead people? Yeah, they led people.
Yeah.
So by the barest definition of the word, people follow them. Does that make them a leader?
According to Webster, leading people,
to
be a leader, lead people.
But at the end of the day, the term leadership really carries a higher standard to it, because you're called and you're responsible to take people down a better path. They may have been a leader, but they did not practice leadership.
Now, leader is way different than influencer, too. You could probably say Jim Jones. You could say the President of the United States. A lot of these people were great influencers. So there's a difference there between influencer and leader. All right.
He had great intentions. Are you sipping on the Kool-Aid? But I get what you're saying, Shane. I really do. In his mind,
right.
He was in Hitler's mind, he was doing the right thing. In Putin's mind, he's doing the right thing. We are the host of this show. So in our mind,
our rules, right? Well, that's why at the beginning of it, because it is so subjective, because it does mean things to people throughout the whole world differently. That's why we wanted to put our definition on it, put our spin on it.
Shane, you just need to come in and fill this chair. I think you would be an incredible host.
Yeah,
would you mind shaving all your head off?
Well, she could be undercover.
That's true.
That's right. All right, let's go with this guy, which I absolutely just want to see what your take is. Simon Sinek. And Simon, thanks for listening, and hashtag Simon Sinek.
In the world of thought leadership, he is probably one of the greatest thinkers out there today. I don't know what his following is like, his actual tribe, but the guy can come up with stuff that is off the charts.
I will say that he is a great inspirer.
Yeah.
And here's what I love about Simon Sinek and what Simon Sinek does and says is just what you said. He is a great thought leader. There is not an original thought. He's a great orator.
Right.
He's a great orator, and he can hesitate correctly. He can inflect his voice properly. He can grab your attention and say things that you already know and have already heard with a little bit of deep feeling. There's some psychology behind what he does. But truth be told is there's not an original thought. So he's not a thought leader. I always giggle at this because he's just able to present. Now, take me, for example. I say things in situations that people think but would never say. So they always go, man, you're I can't believe you said that. Why? You were all thinking it, right? I'm just not afraid to say it. I think Simon Sinek's the same way. Is he a leader? Do people follow him towards the achievement of a goal for good, or do they go, man, I didn't think of it that way?
Well, he's to go along with it. He's a thought organizer.
Mm-hmm.
He has taken maybe the way you've heard something 6 or 7 times before, and his talk on why with the circles, and
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen it, was probably more. There was a time when I was in management where they said, there's mandatory training coming up. Everyone will be here. No one will be allowed to be on vacation during this week. This mandatory training is coming. It will be here in 5 months. And then it'll be here in 4 months. And they're just marketing the crap out of this. When it finally came time, this instructor stood up at the beginning, and it was about safety. And he said, whenever there's an accident, the first thing you want to ask is why. Then the second thing you want to ask is why, and then why.
5 whys.
And 8. He went down to 8.
Yeah.
By the time you get to the 8th why, you'll understand why there was an accident, and that was it. It was all about the why. Well, Simon Sinek, in that talk that he gave, I think it's for the what's the leadership program they run out of Barrington there, the annual leadership
out of Willow
thing,
Creek.
Willow Creek, and that was probably the greatest presentation on why I'd ever heard.
That's what put him on the map.
But again, I don't know what his personal tribe was like. He's just out there.
Right.
So he's actually not leading anyone.
Right. He's a brilliant orator, and he can hold your attention because of the ability to orate.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I mean, that's just the way it is. Shannon says, "Why do I not know so many of these?" You have to be with these people that I'm bringing up. You have to be a junkie, a self-help junkie. And I am that. I listen to podcasts. I listen to so many, books, audiobooks, things like that. I've read over 60 books this year already. Just because I want to try to get into not to that space, but I try to figure out my combat with my brain, right? So these are all people that a lot of business owners, a lot of business people follow to try to be inspired by them. And I've known tons of people who've paid thousands of dollars, some in fact tens of thousands of dollars, to go to these people's weekends and things like that, because I'm going to be able to walk on coals, and I'm going to be able to be a new person when I leave, and all of a sudden money will rain from the sky from me. Okay. Michael Jordan, leader, not a leader.
6 NBA championships.
Okay.
If you classify that as good, then he led people to accomplish good things. Was he a jerk? Probably at times, according to the documentaries and things that came out. Did people like being around him? And going back to what Shana said earlier, it's not about it's not a personality contest. He would come to practice, and if somebody wasn't practicing at a high enough level, he'd get in their face.
Yeah.
So did he lead people for the accomplishment of good? I believe he was a leader, is a leader.
Still today, as he's an owner of the Charlotte Hornets.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Is he still a leader today?
I believe he may be comfortable in his life.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if he shows up for day-to-day. I don't follow him that close today. He's not in the limelight, so
that's a tough one for me, because did he maximize the efforts of others? Absolutely. I mean, there's statistics that show that even the other teams' play level went up like 15 or 20% when he was on the court. And towards the achievement of a goal for good. Yep. And again, this is that tricky one. Was it Michael Jordan who was the leader, or was it Phil Jackson and Tex Winters who put the plays in place and got the team to do the plays to win all those championships and kept the team together? So there's different different leadership in different positions. I would say that he was a leader when he was playing because people wanted, people wanted to come and play for the Bulls, right? And people wanted to be part of that and get a little taste of that, because I think he did maximize the efforts of others.
Well, and when you look at just the NBA, when he came around, the NBA flourished. They had been struggling before.
Yeah.
Magic and Larry Bird came along, and it started getting better. Dr. J was a marketing message. Michael Jordan comes along, and the NBA. There's a stat out there somewhere, but I think it's over 20 times the value. I'll read it.
Yeah.
It's sometimes hard to separate the theater from the message when it's overproduced. I find myself leaning on more of the ancient philosophers. Do you have a favorite leader?
From the ancient philosophers? Man, that's a good question. And it's been a while since I've dove into that.
You'll find out there's a lot of things that Socrates and some of those guys are saying that Simon Sinek is saying today, or some of the others are just with the speed of which communication travels today. If some of the ancient philosophers had that, this may be a different world we'd be living in.
Yeah, it very well could be. Yeah, Socrates. Yeah, he's good. Sartre is another one that I like to read. And again, these are sometimes leaders. They're strange. I mean, you want to talk about thought leaders. Those guys were huge that way, and their philosophies still. Shana says Seneca.
But the question was, who is your favorite leader? It's okay. I mean, I'm sitting right here. But
I mean, the simple answer is I say Jesus, right? Because I'm a Christian and I follow. I try to follow Jesus's philosophies. So that is absolutely number one. But is that the easy cop out? It very well could be. Wow.
Is there someone you find yourself emulating when you're out?
No,
coaching.
God, no.
Shane, I haven't seen him on a hot seat for a while.
Yeah, that's a strong question. Probably my dad.
Okay.
My dad's a pastor. My dad, and I'm, he never seen my dad get mad. You've seen him get mad, but he's always
only at you.
He's a thinker, right? And he seeks first to understand rather than to be understood, and that's a lesson that I've been trying to teach myself for a long, long time. And I think that. Tom Jones, not the singer Tom Jones, but the Tom Jones.
The Tom Jones. Yeah. For me, it was Colin Powell.
Okay.
As a company commander, Colin Powell was climbing the ranks. He wasn't up to his highest political status yet, but we were. I was company commander during Desert Storm in the early '90s, and there was a conference up in Minnesota that had all the commanders from the central United States, Minnesota, Nebraska, Iowa, all the way down to Texas, came up to this big. There's probably 5,000-6,000 of us in this arena, and he stood up and outlined exactly what we needed to do, which we did after 9/11. And he was, he's a visionary. He saw these things coming. I say that because you asked. Is a visionary the same as a leader? I think it's one of the characteristics a leader needs, but I don't know if
a visionary can be an influencer too.
But just being a visionary does not make them a leader. I think it's in the mix. But he was one of the the great leaders that I looked, and as I commanded, I wasn't to the level of, what would Jesus do? What would Colin do?
Right.
Because what
Right.
my Colin to do would, well, never mind. That's
Yeah,
another.
never mind. Wrong call.
Wrong Colin.
Yeah, and then she says, "I love the quote: live by example." There's a beauty in the simplicity. Yeah, and that's that to me is true leadership. Is hey, I'll get in the dirt with you. I'll get I'm not going to yell at you. Whatever. Listen, we rolled past the bottom of the hour, but we do want to give a shout out to our good friends over at Natural Therapy Wellness Center, Natural Therapy Wellness Center, www.mchenrymassage.com, 815-385-8190. And then follow, subscribe to all of our stuff out there. Share it out.
Sharing is caring.
Yep, it sure is. All right, so
let me address what Shane has got going. Leadership principle number 5 of the 11 leadership principles out of FM 100-5, the United States Army Leadership Manual says, set the example. This is the core principle of leadership. You can look at all the other principles, but if you're not setting the example, I believe that it's difficult to be a leader, if even possible.
So leadership is not about you. It's not about the leader, right? It's about your followers, your employees, your team. The best leaders, of course, devote almost all of their energy to inspiring and empowering others. Taking care of their people is a big part of being that leader. So that's why I think these quote unquote leaders, or even elected officials or leaders, is hard, because that taking care of the people is not, there's always an underlying something there, right? Leadership is also not about power, right? Leadership naturally comes with power. But to lead people with character and engender trust, it isn't compatible with being primarily concerned with acquiring and using power.
Yep.
Right. The most powerful leaders are those who earn trust and stay trustworthy. And there's something I think that's been lost. Is trust, earning the trust. Because I now wear the badge, or I sit in the corner office, or I have a card with a degree on it, or something like that, you should trust me because I'm a leader. Not necessarily. Matter of fact, since you're up there, I'm thinking, whose ass have you kissed, and whose back did you step on, right? That's my first inclination. I'll be happy for you. Leadership is not about telling and controlling. Leadership will always involve some degree of telling people what needs to get done. But the best way to make that happen is by helping others figure out what needs to be done on their own. A great leader gets people to do things that they want them to do without them, or with them thinking it was their idea.
Right.
It's about guiding. It's about mentoring. It's about coaching, not telling, controlling, and or micromanaging.
There's in the world of military leadership, there's specific orders, there's general orders, and there's implied orders. When the general says, "Hey, Captain, it'd be nice if you'd like to join us at the officers' social tonight." That isn't, let me look at my calendar and see if there's anything conflicts. That is, erase everything off your calendar and show up at the officers' social.
Yeah.
It's an implied order, simply because the person who's giving it is somebody you respect. Now, would you be court-martialed if you didn't show up? No. But the next promotion board comes up, and you're probably not going to see your way through. So the general orders are orders everyone follows based off the history of the United States military. And then it's the specific orders. Kent, I want this office in tip-top shape. We've got visitors coming through. Would you take a few minutes and just clean everything up? Specific orders. So it's
leadership's not about doing everything yourself. So many leaders we see Get out of the way. Let me show you. Right. The best leaders know they can't meet the goals alone. They need the right people doing the right things. Leadership means delegating to the right people to get the job done right. The best leaders are those who put people who are better than they are at certain tasks
Yes.
and areas on their team to say, I need you because you're the best at this. Not, I'm not going to hire you because you know more than me and make me look.
Or you're going to agree with me constantly.
Right. Or you don't know what you're doing, but boy, I sure love that. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah.
That makes me look better.
Yeah. It's not about doing all the communicating. Leadership is you have to have a team. You have to have people in place. You have to trust your team to communicate. Here's one that I like, and this is a tough one for leaders. Leadership is not about always feeling confident.
There's a lot of times you
Right.
don't feel confident.
You're human if you're a leader, and I think it's important. I've been in leadership positions for most of my adult life, and my team always knows if I'm having a good day or a bad day. And I've had people in that have been my that I've reported directly to, right? You can't do that. Yeah, you can't let them see you sweat. You can't let them see you get angry. You can't let them see da da da. And I'm like, but they come in and they have bad days. They have to know that you're human. And you know what? There's been plenty of times where I've gone to my team and said, guys, I'm not feeling it today. My dog's been run over or whatever the case may be. And my mind's just not there today. I need to let you know that because I'm going to need you guys to pick up the ball and run.
I was doing leadership training for an organization here in town, one of the very important organizations here in town. And the chief and the assistant chief were my clients. And the assistant chief that day, it was his time for our hour appointment. And I walk in and sit down, and his door was always open, but he stood up and he went and he closed the door.
Yep.
As soon as he closed the door, his shoulders slumped over, and I just saw this incredible look of sadness on his face.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what's going on? He goes, Tim, he said, my best friend's son died in his sleep last night, 14 years old, had a heart attack in his bed.
Wow.
He said, it's heartbreaking. He said, I'm really having a hard time with this. And I said, well, gosh, when did this happen? He's like, it was 3 days ago.
Yeah.
I go, when's the funeral? He says, well, it's today. I go, why are you here? He goes, well, I'm the leader and my guys need to see me here. I go, no, you guys need to know that you're hurting and you need to go, what time is it today? Well, it's at 10 o'clock. It was about 8:30, 8:45 at that time. And I said, you need to go out and find, whoever your right-hand guy is, explain to him that you're going to leave. You need to get dressed and go to your friend's kid's funeral. He goes, but I said, no. As a leader, trust me, as a leader, when you're hurting, the organization is hurting, you can't cover that up.
Right.
But when you try to cover that up, things just get worse because you're going to explode on somebody for all the wrong reasons, and it's not their fault. It has nothing to do with what they've done.
Yeah, that's tough.
So he did, and later on when we were doing the after-action review on the training that I had supplied from, there was a 13-week program, he said that moment probably is the moment that changed his life as a leader, to know that you as a leader, your people need to know how you think, act, and feel.
Yeah.
When they know how you think, act, and feel, they can operate on your behalf. They will know what your decision would be, even if you're not in the room. Yeah. But if you constantly have to have them wait until you make a specific decision or a verbal order, then the organization's going to fail.
Yeah. Good point. Leadership's not about is definitely not about having all the answers.
No,
you can't. and your people need to know that. Nothing worse than following or having to follow somebody who's a pompous ass and a know-it-all, right? Commander McBragg is
right. We've had all of those.
Yeah. Here's the toughest one, I think, for leaders, true leaders, maybe just for people, but it's not about taking credit, right? I live under the guise that whether I'm coaching, junior high basketball, whether I'm running a department of a bank, whether it's right here at DDOE, I tell the people, the hosts, the janitor, hey, when we win, it's your fault. When we lose, it's mine.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times players, employees, people don't quite grasp that. What do you mean? Listen, you're going to be the one standing up there getting gold put around your neck on the podium, not me. However, when we lose, it's not because you didn't do your job. It could be, right? But I'm not going to roll you under the bus. And I have people who worked for me, 30 years ago who still contact me today and just say, you know what, you're probably one of the best people that I work with.
Well, we mentioned at the top of the hour, Scott Frost, the University of Nebraska.
Yeah.
The golden child.
Yeah.
Lost 6 games last year with a combined total of like 22 points. Starts off the season with a 3-point loss. He's starting to go down that same road. Is his head on the chopping block? Nobody's going to fire the quarterback.
No.
They're not going to lay off the defensive line. The coach is going to get scrutinized, and he's going to be the one to go.
Here's an interesting thing that I came across too in this past month as I was studying leadership a little bit is a true leader does not desire followers. I thought that was very interesting because there are so many people out there. Build your tribe, build your tribe, build your tribe, get your followers. But yes, if you're out there, share because I am looking for followers here at 21.6
YouTube, Facebook, but
right and perhaps that's where some of the rub is with some of the people we talked about earlier in the show is they've gotten so big now that now it's all about getting more followers, getting more money, and a true leader doesn't desire followers. You agree with that?
I do. General Holsinger is a 2-star general. He's the commander of the state of Illinois, top dog. When I received the Distinguished Graduate Award, we had a 2-minute conversation at the podium as he's pumping my hand and telling me why he wasn't there the night before at our party because the sailboat broke down. And we had connected. Now, I was a second lieutenant, so I was in the leadership role. I was the lowest of the low. And we were out in our area. Well, the general was coming to see the 33rd Brigade. So the general came to the 33rd Brigade, and all the colonels, lieutenant colonels, and majors were lined up to see the general. And the general says, I want to go to the 131st Infantry Battalion. So they all accompanied him to the 131st Infantry Battalion, and all the now majors and captains are all lining up to get their moment in the sunshine with the general. The general says, I want to go to A Company. And so he comes down to visit A Company. So out of 5,000 people, he's down to A Company. When he gets to A Company with all the majors and lieutenant colonels, everybody following him, he said, this is Lieutenant Stewart's company, isn't he? He says, yeah, he's first platoon down there. Well, I wasn't up standing in the parade, but the general came down to my area, wanted to see me specifically because of that moment that we had some time before. But when he got there, he really didn't want to see me. He wanted to get down into a foxhole, a fighting position with my privates and find out what I have done to train the privates. And it was that hierarchy. That was one of those moments in time where I kind of stood back and went, everybody else went looking for the general. And the general came looking for me.
That's it.
And I think, for me, that would be an indication of leadership of going down. He could have picked anybody in that entire brigade, but it was an honor and a blessing. And just mention that I think I'd at least up to that point in my life, I'd done the job well.
Yeah.
Sometimes I question today if I'm still doing it as well. But.
So with our definition of leadership, leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal for good. To put a bow on this series, a true leader is what?
Someone who cares. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
He truly cares about the organization. He truly cares about the people. He puts his own welfare after the welfare of the organization and the people in his organization. So a true leader is someone who cares.
Yeah. I put some thoughts together. If I can get it in the right line of my glasses, we'll be all right. Maybe I should just do that. A true leader shows us that our world is indeed heading somewhere and that we control its movement, right? That we need not be at the mercy of personal prejudices or the prevailing political wind. And that's huge. That none of us are subservient to history or nature, and that we are history and nature. That we can rid the world of war and hate and ignorance and obliterate. It was easier to write. Obliterate the borders separating race from race, rich from poor. But when it all comes down to it, leaders show us new ways and new perspectives. And they teach us and inspire us. Now listen to this. A true leader teaches and inspires us to lead in the same way, to show the world a new perspective and a sublime level. So I think a true leader takes a typical person and shows them that they too can be a leader and develops that leader in others. So leadership is a process of social influence which maximizes the efforts of others towards the achievement of a goal for good.
And in the first session, I talked about leaders versus bleeders.
Yep.
Let's see if I can find this. Bear with me.
And we tore that down a little bit. Yeah.
Leaders are there for you. Bleeders are not. A leader will be there for you when times are rough. A bleeder will not. A leader will take you by the hand and guide you to better times. A bleeder will point a finger at you to protect themselves. The only time a bleeder will take you by the hand is to drag you down with them. A leader is a person who, by positive example, has made the world a better place to live. A bleeder, through negative influences, have made the world a dangerous place to live. A leader gives back to the community that has given them the opportunity to lead. A bleeder takes from the community and gives only grief in return. A leader is willing to do whatever they are asked to do. A leader has been there, done that, and is willing to teach you to do the same. A bleeder is none of that. A bleeder convinces you to do things using negative influence. A bleeder gets you to do things that are too dangerous for them but are necessary for their profit. Leaders are driven by need. Bleeders are driven by greed. Don't get me wrong, leaders can make a lot of money, but they earn their money because of their desire to do things right, the right way for the right reasons. Bleeders do not let morality get in the way of making a dollar. And I could go on. I wrote that several years ago and trying to help people understand that leaders who will multiply themselves. In the military, you want to develop the people under you to be a leader so that you can be prepared to take that next hike. If you don't have a leader prepared to take your job, the likelihood of getting promotion is slim. In the world of management only gives you what you need to know, because if you become too good, they'll push you in the higher position, and they're afraid for their career.
That's right.
So leadership is about giving back and moving up and moving other people up along the way.
There you go. Listen, we can't thank you enough for starting your week with us right here at Two Bald Guys and a Microphone. This is a wrap for our what a leader isn't leadership, quote unquote,
Leadership.
question mark, right?
Get on the leadership and don't wear a life vest.
There you go. And listen, we can't thank everybody enough for their love, support, and everything. And if you have ideas or topics that you want to hear a little series about and hear two bald guys rattle on about, we would love it. If you want to be part of the show, let us know. We'll get you on. We're always looking for great leaders. We have to give our good friend Dennis Mellon a shout out for coming in with his leadership, Be a Bean. And I love that analogy too, as a leadership is change the water. Don't let the water change you.
Amen.
Which is absolutely great. So, Dennis, I absolutely appreciate you. Going to be a great week here, 216 The Net. Go to our website, check out who's on when. And until then, folks, it's a big holiday. We're going to be here next Monday.
I'm in for it.
All right. We'll be back. It's going to be Labor Day. So maybe we'll either we'll day, or we'll start a whole new series.
Amen.
All right. Thanks, folks.
Get off the bench. Get back in the game.